We can do all of this and more, but patriotic New Yorkers must get your asses out to vote. Gotta get up. Gotta get up. Harry, get up, Harry. Harry, get your fat ass out of the couch. You're gonna vote for Trump today, Harry. Get up, Harry. Come on, let's go. Let's go, Harry.
What was that? Rob, you're glitching, bud.
Yeah, something's up.
Oh no, Rob's got heavy storms out in Minnesota.
There we go.
I love that guy.
Can you guys hear me? See me?
We can hear you. You look a little blurry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need to see your ugly mug anyway.
So glad we went with the last minute clip with the swearing in it, Ant.
If you said ass, it's no big deal. You had to cut the intro song short though, right?
Yeah, I just did that manually.
Yeah, if we
have to do that for real at some point.
We go over 30 seconds of that intro song, they hit us for a copyright on it. Everybody likes that intro song, so we kind of got to stick with it.
Yeah.
We're kind of up in the air about what story to do first tonight.
It's hilarious. People think we don't just make stuff up.
Dude, I do my morning devotional watching Michael Lofton's stuff. So you got to be uncharitable and judge me like that.
You guys do understand the theme of a thumbnail, right? Like the thumbnail is to get you to click the video and see where we go.
And you succeeded. You succeeded at getting mad.
we got Lofton's viewers over here.
When are we entering our reason and theology phase here?
We need Anthony to become the next Lofton with a Pope's Planer show while Rob leaves to become the next Ibarra. The circle can't be unbroken.
Does that mean Nick has to become the next Craig Truglia?
Dang.
Go
so
east.
true, though. So true.
I do have to give a shout out to the Little Way Farm. The Little Way Farm in Indiana, they sent me a pound of garlic. This it's a little homestead.
Which is deeply racist.
It's a little racist. I mean, I'm slightly offended that they just assume the Italian guy on the show needs garlic. My wife did make sauce with the garlic tonight. It came out phenomenal. So, Little Way Farm, they are a Catholic family. They are, if you go check out their website, they ship garlic nationally. I think they're so booked up that you might not even be able to get any. Like that's how crazy their orders work, because once they announce. But if you read even their about page, like they opened the farm in 2022 on the Feast of St. Michael, and they like teach homesteading and stuff. They really do seem like it is. I mean, I got a big box of garlic today. It was beautiful. So just to give a little shout out to them. Also go to shop at avoidingbabylon.com. Go get your merch. And we're going to be on Locals tonight too. The last Locals show, I got so much positive feedback about.
Yeah. You know, how people liked having
Adrian on. And they were like so happy Nick wasn't there. They were like, finally a show without Nick.
So true.
Adrian was awesome. So was Sam. Adrian and Sam were both awesome to talk to. And it was one of those conversations just like off the cuff and said garlic. garlic. Yeah, so a lot of people did like that. It was just one of like a just an unplanned conversation that kind of went all over the place. So
Joey. There's like two people. That's a cool local show.
Yeah, I'm making it like there's 30 people reached out to me. It was literally two people. All right, so we're a little what should we do first? Should we do Medjugorje or should we do
Sam
Trent? Because Trent, I guess we'll save Trent, right? Because man, Trent's video got me pretty annoyed.
You were pretty fired up.
He's had a lot of cringe takes.
I was
almost made us do another video this week.
I almost jumped on yesterday. Don, you really are ruthless, Don. Haven't checked Locals recently. Is it finally worth my $5? Yeah, Trent's video really annoyed me, man. And I know, like the last time he did a video, that I had Tim come on, and Tim wore the freaking Jew throw on the video. So I'm like, I don't know. Like, I definitely have to address it because he's so disingenuous in it. I did not watch the Lofton video. I just saw the thumbnail.
I haven't watched it either.
I
Or the
I
Trent
watched
video.
I watched like 2 minutes of it, and it was actually kind of funny. Like he was more or less being like, "Yeah, guys, I have no clue how to interpret this." But the first one, people like dubbed sad music to it, and it's Lofton's just like,
That's amazing.
Lofton's like, "I don't speak Italian, so I don't know if this translation is accurate." And his whole audience is saying, "It's accurate. I speak
It's
Italian,
accurate.
exactly."
It's spot
And he's just
on.
like, "But the Vatican website doesn't say this," and I'm like, "Poor guy. His career's over. It's fundamentally over at this point."
Oh man. So, all right. Well, whatever. Let's just stick with that. So,
Do
why don't
we
we
think Lofton makes it through the end of this papacy as Catholic?
I think he's pot committed financially. I think he has to. I mean, I don't know spiritually if he will, but I think publicly he will.
So true.
I mean, how much
Kale.
time could be
So
left?
true.
You know?
More than we wish, probably.
I mean,
Um,
I don't know the guy's intentions or heart, but it's like, yeah, I mean, financially speaking, he is tied to the Catholic like speaking circuit. And so he's gonna do that. Now, what I found funny, someone said in the chat earlier that when you look at Lofton's view counts, his last 2 videos where he's basically like bugging out, freaking out over Pope Francis's statements, have more views than like the entire week's worth of views.
Oh yeah, of course.
that
It's look, there's a kink in the armor, a chink in the armar, right? There's a chink in the-
Exactly. But my point is just it's like, okay, so does he join us? Being
No, I
woken?
think this. Look, the
I mean, I
Skojak-
don't think you'll ever be on camera with Anthony if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think
He comes on. You called me gay. You're going
of
to hell.
everybody out there. I think Lofton has like a deep-seated hatred for me. Like I think he really does not.
Not the only one.
Well,
Huh?
I can
What?
deal with your
What?
hatred.
Was that out loud?
Ooh,
So-
oh no.
I think he really does not like me, but whatever, that's fine. I'm not trying to trash Lofton. I think the danger in doing what he's doing is the same danger that Skojak did, and it's that you make the like what's going on in Rome your whole life.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
everything is dependent on it, and then when things don't go exactly how you think they're going to go, they can really destroy you. You know.
Well, it's kind of like I joked earlier the other day. It's like, what does Lofton's kid say when he goes to school? My daddy, he makes long hours, long YouTube videos defending Pope Francis. Like that's literally just his
What he
career.
does.
And so, what happens when that dries up? You know, I mean, what I am happy at this, as much as we like meme on him, I'm glad that he's actually
Kale's
like
got some
waking up.
strong words tonight.
Wow,
Wow, Kale. I like it.
When the Communio guys are condemning Lofton, you know it's over.
So
It's so over.
I watched a little bit of Lofton. I think somebody posted a clip of it. Might have been Christian Wagner or somebody, but just him. He was just like, "This is bad, guys. Like, I don't even know what to say to this." You know, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Same.
At least admitting that this is just a trash statement by Francis, right? What I didn't like in Trent's video is Trent gives this long exposition about how, well, look, you know, we don't owe any magisterial assent to a one-off statement Francis makes at a gathering of a bunch of kids, right? Except that Francis doubles down the next day. And then also, so Trent gives this long explanation of what authentic magisterial teaching is and how Vatican I says we owe assent to authentic magisterial teaching of the Pope. And then he says how this is just a one-off statement, but it's not. I mean, if you go back, this is what Francis's entire papacy has been about.
It's the cornerstone of his
It's the
papacy.
theme of the entire thing. It starts off with that stupid Abu Dhabi statement with God wills the diversity of religions. It goes back to him telling that Anglican cleric that wanted to become Catholic, you don't need to become Catholic. It goes to every single time he kisses the feet of Muslims on Good Friday or Holy Thursday. It goes to this entire papacy has been defined by ecumenism.
Mhm.
Yeah, allowing Anglicans to say their quote unquote mass inside of St. John Lateran Basilica.
Yeah.
I mean, or just the Abu Dhabi Abrahamic family temple. It's like building a mosque, a synagogue, and a church all next to each other. I just think that what's really sad about this situation is that this is the most explicit we've gotten from Pope Francis. So it's like two statements, like God, all religions lead to God, in tangent with my religion is true, yours is not, ha ha ha, making light of that. And then also saying that the diversity of religions is a gift of God. Like, how much more off the wall do you really need to get? And the fact that we're just being told these are just one-off statements, don't worry about them, I think is extremely disingenuous.
Yeah, I mean, this is clearly. I mean, look. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I'm just to say that this is a one-off statement is just very disingenuous. And then we have a clip of Trent. Why don't we play that clip? Because I want to really dig into one thing he said that really drove me a little bit nuts. And Franco posted this. And I look like I met Franco. I like Franco. I like Christian Wagner. I like all those guys. This has nothing to do with me disliking Trent. Even I like Trent.
I don't think you should put Christian Wagner in the same category as like Franco.
No, I'm just saying, like any of the guys. No, you're right. You're right about that. But I still think those guys all have goodwill. At least, like I don't put them in the same category as Lofton, like, and even Trent. If like I would have a conversation with Trent in a second. This is not me bashing Trent. This is me going after Trent's actual ideas here. Like not Trent as a person. And I'm not trying to trash him. It's nothing like that. But the way he frames this was just so obnoxious.
Question is, who's got the bigger Jew fro at this point, me or Trent?
You probably.
I think it's probably me.
Especially in the thumbnail. The thumbnail looked like he had a crew cut.
Yeah.
He gave Trent the crew cut in the thumbnail. All right, let's play the Trent clip and let's break it down a little bit.
And don't hold on to anger. The problem is that the internet teaches us to do the opposite of those things, and that's really bad for our souls. For example, some people.
Why? Hold on. Is this at 1.25 or something?
Yeah, purposely leave it.
Okay.
I think Franco posted it that way.
The problem is that the internet teaches us to do the opposite of those things, and that's really bad for our souls. For example, some people accuse me of being a pope-splainer or pope-splaining, or they say I'm naive because I won't just say the obvious, which, according to them, is that Pope Francis is a heretic trying to cover his tracks, and this is all part of his plan to destroy the church, and that I should say that or I'm being naive. Well, I'd rather be a naive member of the elect than a calumnious member of the damned. I see so many Catholics online making the worst kinds of accusations, calumny against other people. That's a grave sin. And they're saying this not just about the Pope, but about all kinds of people. For example, they'll say a certain non-Catholic apologist knows he's wrong, and so he lies to his audience about the evidence because he's too proud to admit that he's wrong. Or they'll say a certain priest is soft on LGBT issues because he's gay or he's engaging in sex acts with other men. Or they'll say the Pope says the things he does because the Pope wants to destroy the church. It's easy to make these kinds of accusations online, especially when you have an anonymous account. But you and I are not anonymous to God, which is why Jesus said, on the day of judgment, men will render account for every careless word they utter. And James chapter 3 says, the tongue is a little member and boasts of great things. How great a forest is set ablaze by a small fire. And the tongue is a fire. The tongue is an unrighteous world among our members, staining the whole body, setting on fire the cycle of nature, and set on fire by hell. For every kind of beast and bird, of reptile and sea creature can be tamed, and has been tamed by humankind. But no human being can tame the tongue, a restless evil full of deadly poison. With it we bless the Lord and Father, and with it we curse men, who are made in the likeness of God. From the same mouth come blessing and cursing. My brethren, this ought not be so.
I love this statement right here. It's so true. Not to cut you off, Anthony, but it's like, so he says that like the calumny reprobate are putting words into Pope Francis's mouth and saying that he's trying to destroy the church. I got so many comments like this in my last two videos. Guys, we're quoting Pope Francis. We're playing the videos of what he's saying. We're reading what the Vatican has officially put out. How are we supposed to interpret him any other way than what he has said? This is a very basic principle of logic. I mean, if he comes out and says God wills the diversity of all religions, all religious diversity is a gift from God, all religions lead to God, how are we supposed to interpret that any other way? So yes, you can choose to be naive. We're not putting words into his mouth. That's just what he's saying.
And Trent's not arguing against the argument. He's saying all of you are lying about the Pope. Well, first off, most of the people I see are, like you said, Nick, just saying what the Pope has said and what that logically leads to. I've seen very few people say that Pope Francis is purposefully doing this to destroy the church.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he is saying these statements. How do you expect us to understand them? And then to just say, I feel like Trent is trying to almost do this kind of the delusion of the moderate. I don't want to be a rad cat, but I don't want to be a left cat. I'm
Mhm.
going to be this balanced, sane, Ratzingerian JP2 Catholic in the middle who just decides to try to defend the Pope 24/7. But it's like I said in my last video, Catholic Answers has become the CNN of the Catholic Church. 1000%, because all they do is they tell us that we're misinterpreting plain statements that are being made. How else do you take it?
I think the straw man there is this idea that we are saying Francis is doing this to destroy the church. Like,
Right.
I don't know why he's doing it. I have no idea. I'm not imputing motives onto Francis. I don't know what he may just be some liberal hippie from the 60s who just has some horrible theology.
In stating that I believe that what he is doing is destroying the church is not nearly the same as saying I believe he is doing it purposefully to destroy
The church. It's a very
Right.
different thing there, right?
Exactly.
Like to point out the error in the statement, because it is a catastrophic statement. And let me just tell you, I have disagreements with Protestants constantly, and every time I've had one this week, I get posted a screenshot of the news story. Well, I don't know what to tell you. Your Pope is saying that Muslims and this one go to. We're having a conversation about a Catholic faith that no longer exists if we're talking about the faith that Francis is presenting. The faith that Francis presents is not the Catholic faith. I'm not saying he doesn't. I don't know what he believes. I'm telling you what he presents. What he presents is not Catholicism. And it is very difficult to have these conversations with people and tell them how unique the Catholic faith is and how we have this magisterium to settle disagreements, and our magisterium itself is out there saying, no, these disagreements don't matter, just go and do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, no, I saw literally 2 people in my comment section this week who told me, number one, they said, was planning on converting to Catholicism. I'm in RCA right now, and now I don't know.
Well, look at this. This was left at 11:40 a.m. today, hours in advance of this video. Like, this stuff from the Pope and from the bishops,
or
preventing
this stuff
people
like bickering between Catholics.
It could be, but I think if I had to guess, I would say it's because of what
Look,
Pope said.
Francis has converted more people to traditionalism and Orthodoxy than any Pope in history, but he's definitely not bringing people to the Vatican to whatever is going on, man. It's just not happening. I don't know what to make of this. It's at a point where we just like, it's like, who even wants to talk about this stuff anymore? But it does need addressing when you have big names like Trent Horn and Michael Lofton and anybody else, even guys like Franco and those guys that are defending this and acting like, I mean, I had somebody say to me, I think it was Franco said to me, I would rather go to a Novus Ordo that has like a bad liturgy or something like
oh.
Is that a real 100?
That's not Argentinian 100.
That's not Argentinian money. Catholic Answers, like many other conservative Catholics who hung on every word of JP2, elevated the papacy to cult-like status rather than the very limited role that was established by Christ. Decentralization, this is the way. That's a very good point, right? I think I fell for that too. I mean, look, oh man, the next Pope has to cut it out with the traveling around the world and doing the World Youth Day thing. All of that stuff has to stop.
Yeah, no, you're
the next
right.
Pope legit needs to be like Lenny from
Leo?
the young Pope.
Oh, the young Pope.
Lenny.
Oh yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I told people the other day I wouldn't even necessarily care if the Pope was coming out and like traveling around the world and saying stuff, but if he was just saying good things, like if you had a Pope who, let's just say, called out the Grand Mufti of Mecca on Twitter and was just like, instead of the, like Pope Francis has done. Pope Francis has multiple times online said, happy Ramadan, right? Or happy Hanukkah to false religions. He said these things. Wouldn't it be so funny if Pius XIII had a Twitter account and he goes and he's just like, yeah, no, so I know you're celebrating and you're not eating right now. So come to the Catholic Church and you'll be able to feast in the banquet of heaven. Like that would just be so funny in comparison to what we're getting.
Or like happy Ramadan. I'm calling crusade.
Yeah, exactly.
On Twitter.
like if we, I mean, I know it's kind of memeish, but it's like if we had a Pope who had theological orthodoxy, but then also like Trump's skill with tweeting, that would be glorious. That would be glorious.
Literally showed up the second you
Yes,
said that.
I do want a Trump Pope. I do, 1000%.
Well, not Trump, but a Trump-like
Yeah, a Trump like Pope who goes in.
bombastic, but says whatever needs to be said.
Yeah, like I want a
So-
Pope that's so Catholic that the CIA is trying to figure out how to get him out. Like that's
Okay,
what I
so
want.
now, okay, so I see how you feel about interreligious and ecumenical outreach. How do you feel about Trump getting the True Cross today?
Well, the way I looked at it in the video, no, the way I looked at it was, I looked at it, I thought it was cool. Like I actually thought it was really cool. And as I kind of was thinking about it, I thought, okay, so this guy, he survived 2 assassination attempts. Like that's pretty insane. Oh, thank you, Richard. I wouldn't mind if the next
I
Pope
wouldn't
sent
mind.
his entire papacy in Rome cleaning house. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Thou-
that's a oof,
1,000%.
absolutely.
We appreciate the support.
Um,
I think it's good just because, as I told some of my friends earlier, you know, he's survived 2 assassination attempts, and that has to get you thinking. Like if you were in his position, you got to be thinking about your life and about like where you're going to be going. And I have seen insane graces take place through relics of the Holy Cross. And so what I'm praying for is that, you know, he receives this true relic, he receives the scapular. I'm praying that this like motivates him to conversion. I think if Trump was not so busy and he was to look at how Catholics, like let's just say some of the hyper monarchist trads out there, I love y'all, I'm one of you guys, but in the sense that it's like where they're just damning him to hell, and I'm like, okay, yeah, he's not even Catholic, but let's pray that through these relics he might become
Kale,
Catholic.
don't black pill Kale. So you got to realize Kale has.
He's talking about the Vatican.
I know, but don't black pill because these like. Don't forget the miraculous, man. Like God is capable of doing miraculous things that are so miraculous you have no choice but to say God had to have a hand in this, you know? And that's actually what we're waiting on right now. Clearly, there's no way this gets fixed through human intervention at this point, right? I wonder if this is actually an actual comment. I haven't admitted defeat from Lofton. I have admitted defeat. The Radshards are wrong, and anyone saying otherwise is lying. They should focus on the church and their own souls. It sounds like something he would say.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was real or if someone was just saying.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it sounds like something he would say though. So yeah, so a New York Carmelite priest gave Trump a relic of the True Cross.
What was it? An actual first class relic?
I believe so, and he also enrolled him in the brown scapular. Now,
because it's pretty easy to get a third class relic of the True Cross.
Yeah, I'll take either one though, because like as I've told before on different shows, I one time when I was out with a bunch of friends, we were protesting. I think it was the Church of Satan, them or the Satanic Temple, I forget who, but they showed up to one of the towns nearby, and they were they went to City Hall and they were doing a satanic invocation. And what ended up taking place is they there was like 400 of us protesting outside. And one of my friends had a third class relic of the True Cross, and they came out and they were starting to mock us and all of that, you know, jazz. My friend pulls out this small crucifix that he had touched to a relic of the True Cross. And I saw before my eyes a saint story literally play out. They bolted, they ran, they took off. It was so weird. Like we're 400 people, small little crucifix. He pulls it out of a backpack, holds it up, they run. So my point is, it's just like, you never know what God can do.
Yeah, make relics great again.
Make relics great again. So true, dude. So true.
I think, yeah, look, I don't want to spend so much time focusing on this whole thing because it's kind of old news at this point. It's getting very tiresome. It's, to me, I mean, I said this the other night, to me, it feels like the time of the Gentiles has been fulfilled. It feels like we went through the period in church history where the gospel spreads, covers the earth, all nations convert. When I am lifted up, I will draw all men to me, all nations convert. Then you have the Reformation, which was kind of a foreshadowing of what the great apostasy would look like. You had this great falling away of Europe.
People are saying they want Kale to come on tonight.
We could do that on locals. So we had this great falling away of Catholic Europe. And while that was going on, you had South America and Central America busting into second Christendom over there. But then you have this conciliar period where it just seems like the Pope lays his tiara down. The Great Commission has ended. We don't have these great missions going off anymore and converting. The last great mission was Lefebvre, essentially, right? Like the Holy Ghost Fathers. Like we don't have the Jesuits going about things anymore. Don't convert to Orthodoxy because you hate Francis. I left the Roman Catholic and joined the Orthodox Church, but not out of hate. I'm sorry for what you guys are going through. I want everyone Orthodox, but because they believe it's true. So let me say something about Orthodoxy, because I see people all the time saying, look at what's going on in your church, come to Orthodoxy. You guys you go to Orthodoxy, you have to understand something. It's just as detrimental what the Pope says if you're an Orthodox Christian. There's no difference. Being an Orthodox Christian, there is no Orthodox patriarch that the world looks to for moral leadership. It's only the Western Pope. That's it. So when a Pope says something bad, it's bad for all Christianity, flat out. Doesn't matter. Even if you're Protestant, it's bad for you, because this gives credibility towards the liberal mindset that, look, even once the Catholic Church starts bending on these things, it's bad for everyone, right? So to me, to go to Orthodoxy would be the same thing as just going to an SSPV chapel. There's no difference to me. It would be, if you're going there to escape Francis, you're just a sedevacantist at that point. You're not going.
At least if I go SSPV, I can keep my Western heritage, you know.
That's kind of how I feel about it too. Like, I'm not going to pretend I have some deep mystical Eastern spirituality. I'm a Roman.
Yeah,
African.
I mean, here's what I tell people: is Pope Francis so bad enough that you want to leave and start to hold to the belief that Our Lady was conceived in original sin? Because that's what you're doing. Like, you will have to say that Mary, Our Lady, was conceived with original sin because you hate Pope Francis so much. Because that's what they believe.
Yeah, this is not just a difference in, look, I do think the East has
That's the only reason. They want aesthetics and they want a little bit of sanity. But this goes back to just so much of what I tell people. It can't not be just about aesthetics. You have to figure out, what do I believe, and then the aesthetics will express it. So if your aesthetics are beautiful, okay, cool. But if you're also saying things like Our Lady was conceived in original sin, I don't care how scandalous Pope Francis is, I'm not going to believe that.
It's more than that, man. It's that what's going on in the church right now is biblical.
I agree. Yeah,
we're witnessing prophecy unfold right now, guys. Whether you understand it or not, none of us understand it in the moment. It's this moment in church history that was foretold. We are told there will be a great falling away. Jesus says, when I return, will there be any faith left on earth when I return? If you don't think that's what we're going through, I don't know what you think that will look like.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have the hierarchy themselves no longer believe in Christ, like you go back even to the Old Testament, when God, Israel is so unfaithful throughout the Old Testament. They don't cease being God's people. We're just dealing with an episode like that was foreshadowed in the Old Testament. And that's what's happening right now. It's going to get fixed. It's not on our timeline, and it's not going to look the way you think it's going to look, because prophecy is never understood until it's fulfilled. And that's just what we're going through right now.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Speaking of prophecy, do we want to talk a little bit about the Medjugorje stuff? Because it's kind of leads into that.
Yeah, it does lead into that. And let me tell you something.
I got another big one here.
Crypto Ducat, you are the best. I am not Orthodox, but there's a lot of good in the structure of the Orthodox. Bishops in the West became middle managers, and that is not Catholic. That was turbocharged. Oh yeah, for sure. Look, like I just said, I think there's some beautiful things about the East. I mean, I think even some of the mysticism that the West lost because of the scholasticism, I think that there is an aspect to where the church in the East and the church in the West do kind of work together somehow. I think that the church went, it's because of the Latin mind. The Latin mind had to know exactly the technicality of how everything worked, where the philosophical mind of the East wanted it to be a little more mystical, and they didn't think they needed to actually break these things down like that. I think there's an aspect where the Western church lost a little bit of that, and I think there's an aspect where the Eastern church lost some of this. I didn't trash scholasticism. That's not what I did. I'm just saying that I think that there's a little bit of the mystery that I like about some of the Eastern spirituality. But I'm not Eastern, so it's cool to look from afar and go, "Oh, that's a cool little thing they got there." Is that Catholicism? If it is, maybe you can incorporate a little bit of that into the church.
modern miracles. Seriously, just stop gaslighting people.
People
It has nothing to do with politics.
It's so ridiculous.
No, I
Like,
keep
come
seeing
on.
people keep.
I don't
people
like
keep
him because he's
telling me-
Italian.
Well, it's like our what I told in the chat earlier. I said, Lofton has to have a successor now, right? Who's that going to be? Has to be our favorite lady from Boston, right? She has to be the new successor.
Yeah, right. That's not wait, so scholasticism wasn't always shunned. Look, that the other thing I'll tell you guys is I don't know a lot, like keep in mind I'm a high school dropout. Cut me a little second.
More or less, I agree with you, Anthony. I think the way that I would look at it is like true scholasticism always leads into mysticism, because it's like you read all the scholastics, whether it's Aquinas, Bonaventure, even lesser knowns like John of St. Thomas, they're all levitating. They're all just having saints appear to them. I think why the West, quote unquote, is like very critical is because not because of the Catholic Church, but because of secular rationalism, that we just had to focus so much on like debating them, rightly so, because it was heretical stuff, that we kind of got pushed off into the corner. And I think that's just the result. Whereas the East, they're, it's a harsh winter. They're an eternal winter over there. They never leave.
Well, they were either in an eternal winter in Russia, or they were sucking up to the Muslims in Turkey. You know what
Exactly.
I mean? So,
Plus, when you hear like, and I know this is not all Orthodox theology, but you hear the Ortho Bros online particularly, and they're just like, you can't know anything about God. Everything's a mystery. And I'm like,
yeah, they got that ridiculous. They were even mocking. They were even mocking the stigmata and things like that. It's like I don't know.
What is Kale saying? Kale, look, you have swallowed clearly too much communio garbage. Communio lies, Nouvelle Theology lies, the Baroque scholastics, they were just,
to be fair, you can't see it, but on YouTube he did retract that message.
Oh, did he retract it? Okay, if you retracted it, I retract my statement. But I'm just saying, anyone who believes that Nouvelle Theology propaganda, that the second era scholastics were just like these rationalists who never prayed and stuff like that, I'll take you out behind the woodshed. Whoever says.
To be fair, I think he might have been saying that about the East.
Okay. It's fair. It's fair. I just thought he said knockoff second gen knockoff Thomas's, and I was like, bro,
I think he was talking about
I'm about to throw hands right now.
The move to rationalism
comes from bad knockoff Thomas. Okay, the move from rationalism to rationalism comes from second generation knockoff Thomas.
Well, I would say it comes mostly from like stupid fideists. Man, crypto, what is going on, yo? You got a lot of money tonight. We appreciate it.
Oh, you know what? Bitcoin has been going up lately. Crypto, probably connected.
I go to the traditional Latin mass for discipline and structure. I go Eastern masses. Well, they don't call it a mass in the East, right? That's the divine liturgy.
But it is
not proper to call it the mass, though. I go to Eastern divine liturgy for mercy and mystery. The Latin Rite did screw up the order and age of this. I do think that that's an interesting conversation.
Order, I'll give you a slight pass on. Age, no. I'm a Western Rite. I think there's logical and rational reasons why the church
for the age of reason to receive communion. I do too. I kind of like that.
I don't think either one is, of course, bad. Like, because clearly the church uses them, but I do think the West is better, 1,000%.
Yeah, I do like I love the age of reason receiving communion and penance.
Yeah. The problem is, though, if we go by age of reason, at this point we wouldn't be giving communion to most people until 25. 30.
So good.
Age of reason is 7, man. When you have kids hit 7, you'll notice. That's when they start doing some shady stuff and they lie.
Yeah. What I would be fearful about would be like if when the church does get restored, if we see like a pendulum swing so far back to the right, for lack of better words, even though it's not a pendulum, that you start seeing people just like never receiving communion.
We have 572 people watching on YouTube right now.
575, yeah.
Wow.
We appreciate it, y'all. Make sure and like this video. Leave us a comment, especially. Comments help this.
Comments
video
are the big one. Oh, hey,
way.
while everyone's here and while we're talking about stuff like this, there is a new feature coming to YouTube shortly called Hype, I think it is. What it is for anyone watching YouTube, you get 3 hypes a week. You can only use them on small channels, like less than 500,000 subs, which is most of Catholic YouTube at this point. But you can use 3 hypes a week, and what it basically is, it's like a super like. It will boost that channel a lot higher in the algorithm. So the more hypes a small channel gets, the more views it's going to get. So if you like a small channel like us, or like the traditional Thomas, give us one of your hypes a week, and it will end up really helping us.
Yeah, we would appreciate it.
Adrian, I want to get you back on, man. I had a really fun time talking with you.
Yeah, I didn't get to talk to him, but he seemed pretty cool. So
really, really cool guy. So I was up in Pennsylvania over the weekend talking to my parents. Now, I've always told you guys how my parents went to Medjugorje in the 90s. So I was talking to my dad this weekend, and I was like, so what happened? Like, my dad stopped going to mass. So he has this like big conversion in the 90s. He goes to Medjugorje. Yes, guys, please join locals and please hit like and subscribe. If you guys aren't subscribed yet, please subscribe. It really does help. We've been bombing in the algorithm with subscribers lately. Like, we used to get like 900 a month. We're down to like 400 this month.
That's because Nick always makes us do Trump shows, and the algorithm doesn't like that.
you can thank YouTube for that. Although I will say, I grew like by 400 subscribers in just my last 2 videos. So
yeah, you had some big videos.
Wait, crypto,
yo. Nuts. Yo, I'm like, this is insane, Nick.
To be fair, do you not know our channel? We put up like all comments. You don't have to pay every time.
No, shut up. No, shut up. But we'll focus on these. The Latin Rite was giving infant sacraments until at least the 12th century and up to the 16th and 18th century in some parts of Italy. No, don't stop. Keep going. You kidding?
Don't stop. Actually, write us an entire essay. It's a fair point. Like, as I said, 2 things. So number one, in and of themselves, right? Both practices are fine. They're not bad in and of themselves. My point, though, is that there is a good rationale behind why the church developed to that point, which was, okay, that infant needs to make a choice, right? More or less on themselves. And because baptism is strictly necessary for salvation, their parents can give that to them, right? Through the parents' faith. But because the Eucharist isn't, it needs to be a deliberate choice. And that's what it is.
We are Catholic, very Catholic. And
we are
discussing the differences in the East and West, and talking about some of the appreciations we have for the East. But no, we are very Catholic, and none of us are going East.
And then real quick, Brian, I appreciate it. And there will be more catechism videos coming in the future eventually.
So
Rob and Nick are Catholic. Anthony is Italian.
All right. So I was with my parents this weekend.
Hold on, we got another one.
Oh my goodness. You guys don't want me to talk about it.
USA
White House has celebrated Ramadan since Clinton. Trump ended this practice. Trump is first president to show any respect to Our Lady since Jackson, who ended the Fed and brought the debt to zero. Trump also called upon St. Becket. Yeah. I mean, look, Melania is Catholic. We've heard
she
stories.
Baptized Baron Episcopalian.
Really?
That's probably because their marriage is invalid and they can't even go to a Catholic. But that doesn't mean she doesn't have her.
Oh Catholic. Yeah, because she's Eastern Rite. So there's probably a base Eastern Rite priest who's just like, "Yo, sorry."
Yeah, Trump's on his 3rd marriage. There's no way that's a valid sacramental marriage.
Is she Eastern Rite? She's Croatian. I mean, that's Western, right?
I don't know. She might be Eastern. I thought she was Eastern Rite.
She has a devotion to Our Lady. She prays the Rosary, from what I hear. I mean,
I'm pretty sure.
Who knows how true that is? But yeah, she's Latin, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I'm not just buying it because Sean said it. Get out of here, Sean.
Croatians are basically just like the better looking Italians. So.
Hey, look! If we can spend literally 5 minutes of episodes debating whether or not J.R. Tolkien is a cradle or convert,
he's a cradle. Shush. He's a cradle.
Convert. Just get over it.
Slovenian, that's basically Croatian. Come on now, guys. It's all Yugoslavia. Who cares?
Speaking of Yugoslavia,
wars definitely have not been fought over this.
Speaking of Yugoslavia, so my parents went to Medjugorje in the 90s, and my dad was like a flat out atheist before he went. He didn't want to go on the trip. He kind of got talked into going, and then once he was there, he was planning on taking a boat over to Italy or something. He's like, I don't want to be here. He winds up having a big conversion while he is in Medjugorje. He comes home, and my parents are in the charismatic movement. My dad's playing guitar at mass, and it's this whole, they go. My parents drag me to a bunch of retreats, charismatic retreats when I'm a kid. I mean, I'm at retreats as a kid, and everybody around me's crying because the Holy Spirit's filling them, and I'm like, I guess God doesn't love me because I don't. Can we not with the Tolkien conversation? You're gonna derail my whole thing right now. So anyway, so my dad, that goes on for a couple of years, and then my dad stops going to mass. So when I was with my dad this weekend, I asked my dad. I said, "Dad, what happened in Medjugorje?" Like, because I have to tell you, while I was there, I would be with a group of people, and they would say they saw the sun dancing in the sky. He goes, "But I didn't see it." Because I wasn't going to pretend to see it. I wasn't going to fake seeing it, you know?
Did that happen at Medjugorje too? Or do people?
Yeah, there were instances where people said they saw the sun
Fatima
dancing in the sky. Not like Fatima where it came down, but they would see flickering and things like that. And you would hear a lot of stories of rosary beads turning gold. I think my parents' rosary beads turned gold.
To be fair, I think people just don't understand the process of oxidation.
I don't know,
like
man.
Most metals eventually turn a golden color from.
No, he had these rosary for 30 years. They were silver. They went there and they turned gold. I mean, to say that would happen, and so I don't know. Look, I don't know, but what I know is that his conversion he stopped going to mass. You know, I think they were probably just staring at the sun too long. That's possible too, right? So
some clouds.
What I will say is the actual seers are like charlatans. I mean, There's no way around that. There's videos of Vitska when she's in the middle of an ecstasy, somebody puts their hand in her face and she goes like this. And then it's not that drastic. It's like a subtle thing, but not even that. The explanation afterward is so preposterous. Like she should have just said, "I don't know what you're talking about," and just played it off. But she came in to cover her story because she needed to give an explanation for why this happened, because she knew people saw it happen. There's a lot of shady things that are going on there. Now, the statement the Vatican puts out today is essentially that we can't say that anything there is supernatural. We don't think the visionaries are really visionaries. Don't go see these visionaries.
Yeah, don't support the visionaries.
Don't support the visionaries in any way. Don't go to the pilgrimages there because the visionaries like there's so many things. And then the Vatican comes out and they're like, but the spiritual practices are okay.
Well, it does say you can pilgrimage there.
But how is that so preposterous?
Well, right.
It's
basically
so
what they were saying is there's a lot of money involved in this. We don't want to stop any of that. So keep doing all of that. But
that's all it's
probably BS.
Dude, there's so many people who go there for money reasons. I mean, I was trying to wrestle with this question. I was like, okay, what is the logical theological explanation? And the only thing I could think of would be like the most charitable reading would be Rome's like, well, we don't want to discourage Marian devotion, and people are having like Marian devotion here.
Hold on,
but if
you guys see who's in the chat?
Yeah, well, Father, we actually talked about you in the last Locals show, and I'm like, I told him because me and Father actually spoke through text, and I'm like, I want to get you on, and his Father's like, I don't know if you want to get me on right now. I got a real thing I'm focusing on, and I don't want to have anybody get in trouble. Hey, Joe McClain, what's up, brother?
We should have him on the show. He'd be cool to have on the show.
Yeah, Joe, I watch your show all the time, man. I'm not either. So the thing the context I'm trying to give is, for years because I was raised in this environment, right? My parents went there. My dad had his conversion, or we all started going to church again, and so I always had a positive view of Medjugorje until I started looking into it. And once you start looking into it, you start seeing some of the shadiest stuff going on. And I know a lot of people. Look, Daniel O'Connor goes, he loves it. Robert DeCrevy loves it. I understand.
Keith likes it.
Keith likes it. Keith went there, and I mean, Bishop Strickland went there. I just don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's just the things I've seen. I see. First off, Antonio Sochi, who wrote The Fourth Secret of Fatima, and was it The Fourth Secret of Fatima and The Fourth Secret of Benedict XVI or something? He wrote a couple of really good books. He was like a Medjugorje fanatic, and then all of a sudden, one of the seers said that Mary said that Francis is one of the greatest popes. And he just like, whoop, there you go, falling out. Now, for these visionaries to say that Francis is one of the greatest popes, I mean, objectively speaking, how can anybody say that? Just objectively speaking.
Any random 17th century pope is better.
It's just preposterous to me. I mean, I don't know. Look, I could see, I've said, I see the people who have that Catholic heart and they just, you know, they want to hide their father's nakedness. They don't want to bring attention to the negative things Francis says. But to say he's the most based pope ever is psychosis.
It's faking gay. That's all it is.
It's psychosis. It's just so incongruent with the reality of how many people have left the church under Francis. The Francis effect. Remember when they used to talk about the Francis effect? You know what the Francis effect really is? The church is emptying, people seeking orthodoxy, people going sedevacantists,
The abomination
people,
of desolation.
Priests leaving their vocations because they can't handle what's going on. I mean, so many things have happened under this papacy that to say that Mary claimed that, I'm sorry, it's preposterous to me.
Yeah, I agree. Did you guys read the statement by Cardinal Fernandez of why they approved, going there?
I didn't go through it. I was working today, but we do have it, right, Rob?
It's pretty
somewhere, yeah.
Catholic Sat said that he was quoting heretical statements by saints in the past. Like Fernandez said they were heretical.
Oh, interesting. He
claimed Saint Therese said Lutheran things.
Easy, brother, easy. What are you saying, Fernandez? Well, what I was going to point out with this was just in some of the justification of why he said that they were approving this much of Medjugorje was because, one, people had spiritual connections there. Their faith had been revitalized. They'd gone back to, they actually started going to communion and to confession, praying the rosary, stuff like that, right? Priests had become, men had entered the vocation of the priesthood because of this. But then I saw another guy on YouTube wisely say, but wait a minute. Isn't that what the Latin Mass has been doing? But you're trying to shut that down. But then you're going to approve this, but then not approve the seers.
Yeah, Joe's spot on. It's a have your cake and eat it too. So it's
like everything else.
Yeah, right. It's look, what's happening there isn't really happening. But you guys can keep going.
Yeah,
it's we're not guessing. We're not blessing gay unions. Go get a gay blessing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is. We're not blessing gay unions. Go get a gay blessing. Go do your thing. That's everything that comes out of this Vatican, man. It's so crazy. It's just nuts what we're living through right now. And it's I don't know. I think we're going to after this papacy, we're going to look back on this time and be like, man, what a wild time to be alive. Because I don't think this continues past that. I still just hold out hope. I think the next pope, something changes. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be comfortable what happens. I think it may be very uncomfortable. But
crypto again.
Man.
Crypto gave us $300 tonight. Francis is a natural symptom of the two churches in one created by Vatican II. Medjugorje is literally the poster child of the Vatican II church.
It's hard to argue.
I agree. 1,000%.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a very difficult thing to say that there's two churches, right? But there are two churches under one institution right now. You can't say the faith that we even look. Oh man, there's something so different even about this papacy specifically, but everything that's look, all of us are looking back at the council and we're just like, something changed here, right? And all of us are seeking refuge in what came before that, because it was just solid foundation before that. And everything they've been doing over the past 60 years is just, I mean, I think we're all just like, what is going on here? I don't know.
Logan, we are not sedevacantists.
No, we're not sedevacantists at all. We're just honestly, we are all baffled is what we are.
We're dudes being bros who are confused.
Yeah, we're just baffled and we don't know what that means, and we're just talking these things out because I think it's actually more healthy for Catholics to have these conversations.
Oh, Sam Shamoon.
Well, I recommend. First off, Sam, you should come on this show because
it would be fun to have you on, Sam.
It really would be fun to have you on, Sam.
I've watched your work. I've watched your work on Islam for like a decade. You and David Wood and stuff, very good stuff. But then also, to answer your question, Find an SSPX chapel. That's where you go.
Not that he's saying it's a branch of Catholicism.
Yeah, it's not a branch.
He's making a joke.
I know he's
Yeah.
making a joke.
Wait, Sam, I've
Hey.
reached out to you multiple times, but you don't answer me.
To be fair, I wouldn't either.
I've messaged you on Twitter. Tell me where to reach you, and I'll get you on. But yeah, I've definitely sent you DMs. I don't like to bug people if they ignore me after one.
And Sam, if you don't want to put any of your info in the chat, just email us at this email.
Yeah, we'd love
team
to
at avoidingbabylon.com.
Yeah, we'd be happy to have you on. You're pretty cool. You're great.
Oh, he doesn't check Twitter. That would explain it. Okay. So I do think it's healthy for us to have these conversations because I don't think we're the only people dealing with it. Honestly, you listen to any Catholic commentator these days. Like I'll watch Joe McClain, and Joe McClain will have Anthony Stein on, and they'll be talking about stuff. And it's all of us are in the same boat. We're all saying, look, we know we believe the Catholic faith, and we know what is being presented to us now does not seem like the Catholic faith. So I don't know what that means. I just know this isn't good.
Robert asked this question earlier in regard to Lofton, but I think the question is kind of true for all of us. Like, what do we do if we get a pope that doesn't do something every week that we talk about?
I'd be fine with it. I said on my last episode yesterday, I said I would rather be literally talking about anything other than the Pope. Because what I want to see is the conversion of the nations. And so if we have a Pope that's moderately conservative and he's quiet, right? Hopefully he can just clean up the church and we can go forward from there. But as we've talked about before, I think that whether or not you get like a super liberal Pope or a super conservative Pope, I think our consensus was there's going to be like some type of deadlock during the conclave, most likely. And it would not surprise us if there's an Avignon papacy 2.0 of like two quote popes that come out of it.
All right. So that's one possibility. Another possibility is they can't figure out, like there's an actual interregnum period, like a significant one, right? They're deadlocked and they can't choose somebody.
That's what Brandon here says. I think there's
a long period of no pope. There'll be a long interregnum period where they're doing round after round and they just can't come to a decision, right?
Yeah.
That's another option. Another option is you get an actual conservative in there, and what happens from that? Look, I've said it before, but we do have a lot of new people watching right now, so it's worth saying again. I think if you even got a Benedict the 17th character in there, right? A Benedict the 6th, let's say somebody comes and picks. We all want Leo the 14th. We all want Pius the 13th, but that's not likely. You might get a Benedict the 17th. You might get a JP3, which would be a disaster.
That'd be so bad.
So bad because Francis is essentially JP3. Benedict was
you might get it. To be fair, a JP3 might be more like a JP 1.5. And it's off real quick.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. So
I think we're just saying if we got like a conservative one, like a normie, like you would see the left, they'd freak out. But unfortunately, we wouldn't have a ton of actual progress in the church, I think. But you'd see the left freak out and the media would freak out.
Let's say you get Cardinal Sarah in there. We all know Cardinal Sarah. I want Paul VII so that Paul's beautiful name does not end. That's a good
point.
That's a very good point.
Because we all talk about JP too, but Paul VI, how catastrophic was that? What he did.
Saint Francis is like, really the first one,
yeah.
Really.
So, let's say you get Cardinal Sarah in there. We all know he's a student of Benedict XVI. If he gets in, I think the revolt from the other side will be so bad that you're getting a schism, no matter what, right? And I think that the gravity of the office and the conditions that come about will actually cause that. It's kind of like when we watched the movie about Rob, what movie was it? Which saint? Where he becomes Archbishop of Canterbury.
Thomas Becket.
So Thomas Becket, when he becomes the Archbishop of Canterbury, the gravity of the office makes him have this deep conversion. And I think that could happen with the next papacy. Now, if that happens, you will get a split, and then you'll start seeing come out of her, my children. Like that, you're going to see an actual church being persecuted by the world at that point. Look, the world right now is going easy on us because we have this liberal pope in there, right? So you have the culture itself is not coming after us because Francis is saying, hey, we're going to start blessing gay unions now. Things like that, even though he supposedly doesn't mean that. But if you got a conservative pope in there who started actually speaking out against the rainbow movement, who started actually speaking out against the dangers of Islam, started speaking out against the dangers of Judaism. I mean, could you imagine if you got a pope that came out and started speaking about the actual plot, like,
you'd see
of the people of the old covenant? Like that would send earth-shattering shockwaves throughout the world.
You'd see a schism between the Roman Church and the Church of Paul VI, and then you would have immediate government persecutions. You have the UN, you'd have the CIA, the FBI. They'd be targeting Catholics nonstop. Because particularly if the Pope came out tomorrow, right, another Pope, and said, okay, we're restoring the pre-55 liturgy wholesale, including the Good Friday prayers, right? Do you really think that a certain country in the Middle East would put up with us for very long?
No, I don't. All right, so look, people throwing.
Hey, these are
what was that $40 super chat, Rob? We should get
that was from Andy Malone.
And what did he say?
Remember we talked with him.
What did he say? So no comment, because I will start commenting on this papacy 2 minutes after Pope Francis goes the way of all. I understand that, right? So he wants to keep it until afterward. Because so the solution is Bitcoin, decentralized. The papacy is not a CEO. Bishops are equal to the Pope in their connection to Peter. We need less Pope and more bishop activity in their diocese if they are Orthodox.
Yeah, I don't know if we want more bishop in our diocese, like right this moment.
Well, because of the state of our bishops, right? But even Strickland, like I hope Pope and Cardinals don't.
As we say, if the Pope starts going after the people of the old covenant, they might start getting pagers mailed to them.
That is true.
That's funny, Joseph.
Now, wait, man, I lost my train of thought.
Bishop and diocese.
The bishop. So even Strickland, right? Like he got very bold towards the end before he got, but it almost seemed to me like he got bold once he kind of knew he was in it. And he always was Orthodox, and he always spoke the truth. I'm not going to say anything negative about Bishop Strickland, but you kind of wish that other bishops saw what he went through and they would have spoken up too. And but I think Strickland was kind of this message.
Mrs. C doesn't know Father Maudsley. Some of our best episodes, and she doesn't know.
Molly, you really should go back and watch a couple of episodes we did with Father Maudsley. Like those honestly are some of my favorite episodes. The first 2 episodes we did with him are out of this world. The third one was on Locals, essentially, because it was so. It's
also on Spiritus. They're all on Spiritus.
The third one's just on Locals because that one was heavy. But the first 2, just the typology we went through in his first books was out of this world. So yeah, if anybody hasn't seen just look up Father Maudsley Avoiding Babylon, and you'll see we did 2 episodes on YouTube, and 1 we started on YouTube, and then we took it over to Locals because we spoke about the people of the Old Covenant. We spoke about the Amish. So Pizza Baller knows the routine of the certain Middle East country. If he were to get the chair, would he? That's a good question. I don't know him well enough, but I do know people speak very highly of him, right?
Yeah, he's liturgically tratty. He likes to do liturgically tratty because, I mean, most Eastern Catholics that are over there in that country are of course. I think you would probably have some type of here's what you would have to do. A pope is going to have to, at the minimum, to start to criticize that certain Middle Eastern country. He's going to have to, at a minimum, tamper the language in the Second Vatican Council and the documents that flowed from that as well, all the reforms. And then he's probably going to have to start tiptoeing back into it. So he's going to have to stop saying
he can't
things
just come right out.
He cannot be saying literally horrible things like they still have their covenant with God.
Yeah,
right.
With no theological quality.
God never revokes his covenants. I mean, that's what JP2 said. That's what Benedict even said. But
yeah.
I mean, the thing is, okay, God never revokes his covenants, but he also never revokes his curses. And the thing is, if you don't fulfill
his covenants.
But even if you go and look at the old covenant, it's like, okay, if you do this, this, and this, I'll do this, this, and this. But if you don't do this, this, and this will befall you. And that's what happened to them because they didn't follow the covenant. So yeah, the covenant's still I mean, if you want to say technically, but they're under the curse of that government.
So this person is asking, if doesn't Francis already condemn Israel at some level? He does condemn them like geopolitically, but not religiously.
Yeah, especially what's going on right now, right? Yeah, I think even Benedict was always like there needs to be a two-state solution. They were never they never went the Protestant American dispensationalist route or anything.
Give them time.
I was going to be fair, that kind of is like slightly dispensationalist, but yeah, not politically so.
Yeah, no, like in comparison to like the words of St. Paul in Galatians and Hebrews, they're way closer to dispensationalists than we would like them to be.
Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead, Rob. Yeah, don't accept it. I'm accepting garlic. I hope the garlic doesn't blow up.
Yeah, you smell enough like it is. It is probably.
Yeah, one thing that Joe kind of makes me remind, though, he says like they need to be called to conversion, and we'll look forward to that day. I mean, if you think about it, what's crazy is that like one of the signs of Christ's imminent return is that all of the Amish, so to speak, convert and are saved, right? All of Israel should be saved. But what we're doing right now is in some form or fashion withholding that, because we are telling them, don't convert. You already have a covenant with God.
Okay, so that goes to Romans 9, 10, 11, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Romans 9, 10, 11 is where Paul gets into that. It's like all Israel will be saved. But part of that is about the prophecies in the Old Testament. And the prophecies in the Old Testament about how the 12 tribes will be reunited, right? So if you go back to the Old Testament, the 10 northern tribes break off and they get broken out they get so dispersed amongst the nations that for all intents and purposes, they are Gentiles, right? So the way all Israel is saved is through the new covenant. So when Christ comes and converts the Gentiles, that is how all Israel is saved. Now, we also believe at the end of time, there is going to be a mass conversion where Paul talks about they'll be grafted back in, right? Like, and don't get too cocky about like he actually tells Catholics, like, don't get too braggadocious about this, that you're now grafted onto the tree, because you will be cut off you can be cut off just as they were cut off, and there will be a grafting back on of those people at the end of time. So, but that's why I was telling Kale not to black pill, because I think what is coming is a miracle so undeniably from God that it is going to be something that all nations will turn. I mean, look, we have Mary tells us her immaculate heart will prevail. She appears in Fatima. The only two women in the entire Quran that are spoken with any reverence are Mary and his daughter Fatima. Mary appears in Fatima. I see that as there's going to be a mass conversion of Islam and the Jews at the end of time.
You want to know something interesting? Just
what?
Not really, because it's a very common name, but the one 8-year-old girl who was killed by Israel in the latest attacks was named Fatima.
Oh, really?
But like I said, it's a very common
name over there, but still, like all these things are going to connect and make sense in the end. And when we see it in hindsight, we're going to go, holy cow, how did we not see it?
Yeah, I have a question for you, Anthony. So what do you think of this theory? So all of Israel converts, right? But the thing that sets it off, right? The big thing that God does, what if it's not a mass like conversion or miracle? What if it's something like World War III?
Yeah,
and the only reason I say that, because the only reason I say that is just because when you look at Matthew 24, wars and rumors of wars and pestilences, i.e. something that happened in 2020, are the things that start to kick off everything. And then later on, of course, all of them convert. And so what if that's the thing, you know?
So I think I had made me and Rob were like spitballing a year or two ago about this. And when all these synods were going on, and I'm like, what if Francis calls one of these synods and then there's some kind of like Muslim attack on the Vatican? Now you get that whole hierarchy gone. And I'm saying this laughing. It's not funny. But hypothetically, you know, it's like you wipe out the entire system that's in place, and it's all of a sudden now the bishops have to come together and form something new. And out of that something new, you get something totally different. 250 likes, 600 plus people in here, guys. Everybody hit like right now. Come on.
Give us your thoughts in the comment sections. Comments help us
And
tremendously.
not that one. Hold on.
Sorry.
That is not a comment. That's in the live chat.
Yeah,
Not the same
live
thing.
chat. Go to the comment section proper.
Yeah, so look, this was interesting. I don't know why YouTube boosted us in the algorithm today. We typically get about 350.
So like they
People-
only talk about Lofton. Let's boost them up. In
People
their ratings.
did seem to like the thumbnail.
Yeah, you did a good one this time, Rob. Very good
Well,
job, Rob.
this time,
Well, you know,
what does
sometimes
that mean?
well, I mean, nobody watched our trivia episode. I thought it was fun, but like, I don't know what happened.
Okay, come on. That has nothing to do with the thumbnail.
That old trivia intro though, man, that took me back.
That was fun, wasn't it?
That was fun.
Yeah, it was just fun to just goof around with everybody. But yeah, all right. So the thing is, we got. Do you guys even want to go to locals, or should we just stay here? I mean, we got such a big
If
audience.
we went
here.
to locals, we could invite Father Mosley on.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
he could replace me since I'm gonna bounce.
Oh, that's
a little
right.
bit.
You were gonna bounce.
Let me just let's just see. Let's just do one more story and we'll call it a wrap tonight. I have to go in early anyway.
You
We
want to
have,
do the
just on
sign
here?
of the cross one?
yeah, we'll just do it here. Yeah, let's do the sign of the cross story because we could cut that up into a clip later too.
That's wild.
Judo champion banned.
Whoa,
Judo
you gotta be
champion-
careful.
Judo.
Mixed martial arts.
This, I mean, if we don't get in trouble for what we've said so far. I don't think saying judo is going to be a problem. Judo champion is banned for 5 months from making the sign of the cross when he competed at the Olympic Games. Judo champion has been left floored by a decision to suspend him for 5 months after he made the sign of the cross while taking part in this year's Olympic Games. So they have their Olympic ceremony where they mock the Last Supper, and this judo champion goes in and he goes like this and he gets suspended. These people are sick.
International International Judo Federation.
It's over. It's all over, boys.
People are making their I'm not usually a fan of puns, but that's a funny pun.
It's all over.
Okay, so Serbian athlete Nemanja Majdov, 28, was told by the International Judo Federation
Oh, Serbian, just like Croatia.
he has been banned from
Crypto.
competing until early next year.
Oh, crypto, what the?
Crypto, my only question to you, sir, is what do you do for a living?
I was
Or
gonna
ma'am? I
say,
don't know.
How much should I put in Bitcoin right now? But come on.
No,
We
this
appreciate
was
the support.
this is not even. I mean, this is unbelievably generous of you, man. We are so grateful.
Very much so.
Yeah.
appreciate it.
All right, so then he's been banned from competing until early next year, including for having shown a clear religious sign when he entered the field of play in breach of organization's rules. Footage of Majdov shows the athlete openly making the sign of the cross at the Olympics held this year in Paris. Now,
Except he's
just
Serbian,
weeks
so he did
later,
it backwards.
he has received a suspension from them. Posting his thoughts on the decision on Instagram, he said he was sorry that such a beautiful and difficult sport like judo has fallen to such. Good for him. He didn't
Mhm.
apologize. Good for him.
He's Serbian. He
Good
doesn't know how.
For him. He was, however, unapologetic for having made the sign of the cross and plans to return to the sport later next year. Speaking about his Christian faith, Majdov, who has included several photographs of himself on Instagram, clasping his hands together in prayer before competing, said, "The Lord has given me everything, both for me personally and for my career, and he is number one for me, and I am proud of that, and that will not change under any circumstance. Glory to him, and thanks for everything."
Let's go.
Slow clap, my brother.
He's the European
Legend for not apologizing. What a beautiful, beautiful response to this.
Thank
Oh,
you, Carolyn.
man. His post stated 15 days ago, I
Thank you,
received a
Carolyn.
decision that I was suspended for 5 months by the World Judo Federation for violating their religious codes. More precisely, because of making the sign of the cross when entering a match at the Olympic Games. I was banned from participating in all tournaments, camps, and preparations. True, in the defense letter of the disciplinary proceedings, I did not want to apologize, and of course I did not, nor will I ever, although I did not even know what the punishment could be. The Lord has given me everything for me, and he repeats that whole statement. Nothing new for me personally, just a new page in my career and a new life experience. I'm sorry that such a beautiful and difficult sport like judo has fallen to such things. Man, that is such an awesome way to wrap this show up, man.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of reminds me of Butker over here, just like not
Yeah.
apologizing and just saying, "Look, there should be no reason you're freaking out, because it's like, if Muslims were doing this, if the Amish were doing this, no one would bat an eye. They wouldn't.
That's true too, right? And Butker, good for him too, man. He caught, because that backlash was harsh on him. He got clobbered, and he did not only did he not back down, he gave another talk after that and reiterated everything he said. From what I hear, he's going to start speaking publicly.
Let's go.
I'm pretty sure there's going to be a Butker podcast.
I don't think the secular world is aware or ready for like just the backlash that is really coming. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't mean that in like a violent way. I just mean like,
I think it'll be violent eventually.
I think especially racially in parts of Europe, yes, there will be violent backlash. But yeah, I just don't think the world understands just how fed up.
Yeah. Okay.
We are with it all.
Look, oh man, this is because Europe is going through the beginnings of what their chastisement will be. God is going to use their betrayal of him. All these people. All right. So Francis 2016, you cannot enter eternal life by any entryway that is not the door, that is not Jesus. Maybe your interpretation of him is incorrect. He never said all are equal paths.
My question is, why do you have to go to a quote 8 years ago?
No, and not just that. If you take in context everything he's been saying, and that's what we started the show up saying, right? This is what Trent said. This is just a throwaway comment, but he reiterates and doubles down the next day. And then you take into account the Abu Dhabi statement about all religions are willed by God. And then you take into account every single time he goes and meets with an imam when he goes to the Middle East. Now, I'm not saying his intentions. He may just be going thinking we have to settle down all these religious tensions. We have all these Muslims coming into Europe. We have to be able to coexist peacefully with one another and just have religious dialogue. I think his intentions are there, right? But you're the Pope. You're the Pope. You don't get to do that. You have a duty to feed the sheep. He is basically the Pope to the world and not to the Catholic faithful. And it's really difficult for most Catholics at this point, because we're over here trying to convert people to the church, and he's making it like there's nothing unique about being Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
Like what's the point? What's the point? I don't see why, like, as he said here, I murdered someone yesterday, but 8 years ago I said murder is wrong. Please interpret. I agree. Tired of Pope-splaining and need some Trump-splaining. Trump promised to fight anti-Semitism and separately promised to outlaw usury. So funny. Credit card interest makes sense. Oh, that's great.
That's top tier. That is awesome.
That's my favorite comment of the night.
That comment.
That's my favorite comment of the night. Hey, look. I support Trump, but I don't support all the stuff that he supports.
No, I agree. Look, that's why we're saying, that's why we took issue with the way Trent framed it, right? Because Trent framed it as if we were saying Francis is trying to destroy the church. None of us are saying that. Yeah. None of us are saying, like, I'm trying to.
At some point, you got to take him at his word, though.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Right, we're not making any assumptions here.
So Europe is going to receive a divine chastisement, allowing. Look, Francis could say whatever he wants about this interreligious dialogue, and we all got to live peacefully. They're going to get their jihad moment, and it's just going to be like a switch. And they invited the hordes into their own lands. It's going to be catastrophic for them, and it should be, because you can't separate Catholicism from Europe. Like, Christian history is European history. Mm-hmm. Europe is developed through the church. The church and Europe are inseparable. Even after the Reformation, there's something inseparable about the church and Europe. They are Christendom. So their betrayal is going to be horrific, what they go through, right? Over here, it's going to be I think it's going to start with the rainbow stuff, because they have found a way to make love into hate. In other words, the Christian message of love is now hate in their eyes. And whenever you hear people talk about American values in the public, right? Anytime you hear a politician talk about American values, what do they mean by that? They mean the rainbow stuff. So once they can say, look, if you're speaking about marriage between being only between one man and one woman, that is a hateful statement, and you are a bigot. And you see the seeds of that have been going on for 25 years over here. But it's eventually going to get to the point where your hateful rhetoric must be stopped, and they'll start talking about any Christian the way they talk about MAGA in general, and it will become a severe persecution eventually.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if you guys saw over the weekend, but Tim Walz got in a lot of trouble because Tucker Carlson he put it up on his show, but he was going over comments of his where he was saying that if you say anything that we would consider to be hate speech, you need to have fines. You need to have your internet accounts taken away from you. And it's like, okay, this is a real situation where we're entering in, guys, where back in 2014, the weirdo leftists on campus, they were on campus, but now we've progressed to the point where these guys have influenced people who are running for political office, and don't think that they won't enact some type of thing.
I mean, look at the UK.
Look at the UK, look at Brazil when it comes to Twitter. It's like they shut down Twitter and they say we don't want any of that there. Communists will always shut down whatever can impede their revolution. And so don't fall into this mythology that just because we're here in the United States, everything will be fine in the end. Like that's not going to happen. In reality, if bad people get into office, they will come after us in one way or another.
I mean, we saw in New Hampshire a couple of days ago, the feds went to a guy's house for a post he made on Twitter.
Exactly.
It was a couple of days ago.
Now, to be fair, they read it as a threat against someone. You know, like it's not quite the same, but
I should have brought it up though. I don't know if you guys saw also over the weekend, the Vermont police, they had to bust up this large underground conference that was going on of the quote MAPS community. Yeah, the MAPS community.
I'm surprised they broke it up in Vermont.
Yeah, exactly. I guess there's still some sane people there, but it's like the point is just this stuff will always continue because at the end of the day, it's like Satan hates the Catholic Church. He wants to destroy it. And so we should not think that the way he destroys it is just like, okay, we can't, have a Catholic nation, we're just regulated to a secular realm. No, it's like he, in his perfect worldview, would love to just kill all of us, right? It's only the hand of God that protects us. So in the meantime, he'll do whatever he can to shut us up, throw us in jail, etc.
Boondocks, MAP stands for
minor attracted persons.
I couldn't even bring myself to say it.
Yeah. It's a commie gaslighting word for, let's just say it, another word that begins with a P.
Brandon says he lives in New Hampshire. Also, New Hampshire is super woke. So I go snowboarding in New Hampshire. It's weird because they're this weird libertarian state where they have this like libertarian project going on there, and they have a lot of weird freedoms, but they're also super woke. I've gotten thrown out of ski resorts because I didn't have masks on during the coof, and it's like it really is a strange place.
It's such a shame because the Northeast is so pretty. It is so pretty. It's such a shame.
It's gorgeous. New England is amazing. So my friend wants to join the church, but is shocked by the infighting. There's only one unanswerable argument against Christianity. Yeah, no, listen. Sam Shimon was just in here saying, which Christian sect should I, which Catholic branch should I join? The point is not to that's always the difficulty here, right? Because you don't want to go down the rat trap road so much that you're hating on the Pope all the time. We try not to do that. We try to just understand this from the average Catholic layperson's point of view and just say, look, this is what it is, and we're just in a time of the unknown at this moment. I would say just as easily, I have a friend that wants to come in but sees the confusion that from the statements Francis is making. So yeah, there is some infighting, right? None of us said anything uncharitable about those guys tonight. Maybe a little bit. Maybe we could have been more charitable to Lofton. Lofton and I have a little bit of an enmity between us.
Dude,
Trent,
you called him gay. That's unforgivable.
I didn't call him gay. I said what he was doing was gay. There's a difference. I said, stop. It's gay. I didn't call him gay. He's not gay.
He's a little gay sometimes.
He's not. No.
Fake and gay.
I'm not saying he's homosexual.
I'm not. There's
a difference between being gay and homosexual.
Yeah, come on.
And even the thing with Trent, I genuinely like Trent. He's a good guy. He's come on our show. He's gone out of his way to be good to me. I'm addressing his arguments. There's a difference. Like, we should be able to address each other's arguments without that meaning that's infighting, right? Like, you can't say Trent said this thing, and I'm not allowed to respond to it. Trent responds to people all the time. Right. It's not gay. It's just gay.
Vince.
It's not gay, it's gay.
Trent has put clips of Gabby after hours and criticized Gabby's, criticized Tim Gordon. You're allowed to criticize each other without that being infighting. It's just, hey, this is what he said. This is my take on what he's saying there. That's all.
And it's like, if he's going to come out and basically say everyone who's like criticizing Pope Francis is calumniating him. So calumny being, we're saying that he said something that he didn't say, or accusing him of something he didn't do.
A sin he didn't do. Yes, exactly.
Exactly. It's like, no, we're not. We're quoting him and saying, yo, how do you square this with literally any of the sacred tradition?
Well, it looks like this was a good show. I think
you know how many views we have so far?
How many?
3,000.
Hey,
Very
let's
good.
go.
All right, guys, while you're here, go visit our store. We have You Accepted Mary as Your Personal Mother and Intercessor shirts to troll the Prots a little bit. You want to go to your local parish and troll some Protestants.
Crypto. Man, we love you, Crypto.
Does he mean like Norm as in Norm MacDonald? Because if so, that's a big compliment.
And having a Norm is very rare. No, Norm from Cheers.
Oh, no, that's a compliment too.
Norm from Cheers. That. Hey, everybody knows your name. Norm. That's what I think he meant. Norm from Cheers. Also, we are on locals typically. We're not going to do it tonight because Nick has to fly and I have to wake up early.
Norm from Cheers.
Yeah, Norm from Cheers. I have to get up early for work tomorrow. I have a early start tomorrow. If you guys are not already, please subscribe, hit like. It was very nice seeing a lot of new people in the chat tonight, and we will be back here on Tuesday. We're going to try and get some new guests on. We're going to try and do some new things on the channel. So thank you guys for joining us. And Rob, take us out.
It sucks that Gordon got Sungenis on. That would have been cool to get Sungenis on first. Because now we have to wait like a month or two.
Yeah, we'll wait a little bit. And I want to also get what's his name? Gideon on.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I want to get Gideon on, and then we'll get Sungenis on, and but our show will be unique from Tim's, and we do have some shared audience with Tim, but I think we have our own unique. I think a lot of people would rather see us interview Sungenis than Tim. You know,
there'll be smaller words.
Yeah, for sure. I'll have to go rewatch The Principal before we get him on, though. But all right, guys, we will see you guys on Tuesday.
Adios.